I'm Nezzy Panzu, CEO of CyberDev, but as well as a lead senior software security in T-Mobile in Washington. We've been doing a series of interviews in regard to our conference called CyberDev Conference in August 9th in Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And today we have the honor to interview Mr. D.C. Grant, who's a professor in cybersecurity at the University of Washington. Mr. Grant, I'm honored to have you today. How you been doing? First question.
Everything's been going well. Thank
you. Great. Thank you for having you. So the first question I have today is, can you share us a little bit about your journey into cybersecurity, how you began, and what actually inspired you to pursue that career at the academic level?
I started off in going into mechanical engineering and became more industrial technology, industrial engineering, working in aerospace. But more and more computers were coming into the workplace, and so we were retrofitting rocket body welders with computer controls. And my father, having been a computer programmer in the very early days of computing, I'd been around computers all my life, and as computers came into the play, there was more and more troubleshooting, and just became less engineering and more computing over time, and went through IT operations, operations management, and that became more and more security as we, the first few viruses became more and more malware, and the problems began that exponential growth curve of malicious activity.
Which year are we looking at?
So I graduated high school in the early 80s and was in my career in aerospace in the later 80s.
I see.
Through that time.
And at that time, was cybersecurity already a big deal, or it was things that people were?
There was no such thing as cybersecurity then. It became more and more of a problem along the way.
Gotcha.
So over the last 30 to 40 years, again, that the slow trickle became a fast climb.
Gotcha. And now I believe cybersecurity is one of the major field in the tech. So, from your opinion, what it takes as of today to be a true expert and to really master the field of cybersecurity?
I think I would advise anybody to start out in understanding the computing network and how the network communications works. In addition to that, you've got to understand something about how software is designed and developed in order to see the flaws and the potential problems there.
I see. So I've seen people switching from a totally different field, right? Coming from maybe a medical field, a financial field, and joining maybe a master program in cybersecurity right away. Do you think they will be missing something from maybe not taking network previously, or do you think that's kind of a gap that it still needs to fulfill later on?
I think at some point you can only apply the practical knowledge from another domain so much before you have to understand the network communications and the computer programming in order to understand the flaws in the system.
For sure, that kind of makes sense. So you mentioned you've been around for 1980. I wasn't even on Earth yet, but you've probably seen the field of cybersecurity emerging and growing since you started. What are some of the major shifts that you've seen? Some of the major turning points, in cybersecurity?
Well, as you know, there have been a lot of technological advancements in the last several years. We've seen major paradigm shifts along the way with the way communications has worked, and the move to mobile communications and the development of now 4G, 5G, 6G. That means very, very, very fast, high bandwidth machine-to-machine communications, faster than humans need. So that's a problem because things happen not just at the speed that we can think and act, but at machine speed or milliseconds.
Which is truly fast.
So we need to automate our detection and response in order to stay on top of that. So that's one major issue. along with quantum computing and artificial intelligence, which are creating other problems. The bad guys are using these tools.
Oh yeah. I don't think when it comes to AI, I don't think we already assess enough how vulnerable we can be with that in cybersecurity. I've seen people using, company codes and just putting out there, injecting there, and wishing to have a good output. I can't imagine, how vulnerable we can be using AI now in cybersecurity, and that's probably another topic that we'll see along the way. But we're talking now about this conference that we're trying to organize in Congo, in Africa. And I was telling you before that Africa is really like an emerging continent. Talking about the Congo, for example, 80% of the population is under 45 years old. So you can imagine, the needs of technology and of learning those things. At your opinion, how critical it is to start the journey of cybersecurity in an amazing or in a booming and growing economy like Africa or Latin America? What's your approach on that?
I think any economy these days, with our reliance on technology, cybersecurity is going to be a critical field that's only going to become more critical in time. We lean on technology for almost everything we do now. It's integrated in the cars we drive. Many of us carry multiple devices at a time. You've got an iPad and a smartwatch here. Your phone and
everything is an entry point.
And they're all computers.
For sure.
And they all have vulnerabilities. So especially in a dynamic like you just described, where most of the population is under 45 years old, that's most of these people have grown up with this technology around them all the time, and many of them use it for everything. But few understand how it works. And because they don't understand how it works, they don't understand the flaws and vulnerabilities associated.
Correct.
So there's a definite need. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, if we look at national, if we talk nationally, security, at the infrastructure, the protection, how should a country be prepared? We've seen a war going on, and it's been crazy between a couple countries where it's literally like a tech war now. How should a country be prepared, in terms of security warfare and cyber terrorism, if you can say that?
I think we can look at what they used to call the Cold War, right? Where we're mutually assured destruction with nuclear armaments. Even before the Cold War started to curtail, we already had cyber warfare going on. This is not new. It's come to the public eye now. Just like artificial intelligence is far from new, it's just now in the public eye for the last several years. We've got a lot of vulnerabilities in our infrastructure systems. Everything from water and wastewater to power distribution and even traffic flow and goods and services and healthcare all heavily rely on technology. And they have an interdependence. So if the power goes out, for example, water doesn't get pumped, the wastewater doesn't get pumped. But that's the least of it, right?
For sure.
If we don't have fresh water within a few days,
it can be worse.
People are going to start dying. So there are some major issues with our infrastructure. Most of these systems that rely on computers were not designed with security in mind. And therefore they're very vulnerable. We have to actually bolt security on to systems that have been in place for a couple of decades now. And that's a problem. It creates a very fragile infrastructure.
No, I agree with you, and I'm glad that you say that, because especially a country like Congo was it's a wealthy country. When we talk about the land, there's all kind of mineral. We call it the economic disaster because there's everything there, but there is not a real foundation of cybersecurity, and that's actually why we're doing this, because with this youthful population, we know that it will obviously be a faster growing country. We really need to land and lay some cybersecurity foundation in everything that we do. And it's not late. This is really something we're trying to achieve.
Just to follow up on that, the biggest problem we have are nation state actors. They've got the money, they can afford to invest into it. And international conflict is something that's continued for, not just decades, but centuries.
For sure.
War is always present somewhere in the world. And we're seeing an escalation of greater and greater intensity over time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad that you mentioned that. Moving on to just a few questions that I have. I think we're getting to the end, but you've been in this era for a very long time, you mentioned. And I was just curious on what research have you done? Something really exciting that we can take on and something that you can share to people watching us, students and all the people looking out to you during that conference.
One of the things that I've looked at is trying to detect and automate responses very quickly, but not having to invest a huge amount of money to do it. So one approach that I've found is to take an old computer or a low-end computer and just close all the open ports, if you understand networking, not allowing any services to be contacted, but use it then to monitor the network. And so you can sniff with a network analyzer and then automate scripts to send information to intrusion detection and prevention systems to respond, or to send to other sensors or between organizations. So there's a way to, I've developed a couple of methods to privatize and secure those communications, so it's authenticated. And so it's very low cost and fairly easy to implement.
Got it.
There are ways to do these things without having to spend a lot of money.
Gotcha. Was there challenging to achieve that? It was pretty
it's mostly the theoretical challenge of working through how do I protect this, how do I secure it, how do I make sure that somebody can't get in the middle and change the communications or resend the communications and have them be used again. So, but those things they're all solvable and solved.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. Which brings us to our last question. I'll say, what guidance would you give to the young people? Because during that conference, we'll have a bunch of students coming from different universities. We'll have aspiring people, or people who are just curious to learn about cybersecurity. What advice would you give them today, especially with the fact that they are from a developing country? Is there specific things that you can tell them and they can take off from this interview?
I would say that there's no problem that can't be solved, and the problem that we bring along with the technology and the flaws and vulnerabilities that create the problem of cybersecurity, they're all easily, maybe not easily, but they all can be solved. And it's going to take a lot of different minds and perspectives to put the perspective of the problem and put the problem itself into the right perspective to find a solution. So it doesn't matter what your background is. If you focus on it, you can learn how the computer network works, you can learn some basics of computer programming, and you can analyze the problems and find the solutions.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Grant. Professor DC Grant will be with us at the conference. He will be speaking on August 9th at Kinshasa in Congo. I've heard a lot, I had a lot of questions like that. Is Mr. Grant going to be there? Is Mr. Grant going to speak? I'll give him a few seconds to just at least reaffirm that you will be there. Mr. Grant, the stage is yours.
I just heard today about the date, and so I've got to check my calendar, but I think I can make it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Grant. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, we'll see each other on August 9th in Kinshasa. I will be there, and then, coming in, there will be more topics that we'll probably talk a little more deeper than we did today. But it will be my pleasure to host you on the conference. See you on August 9th in Kinshasa and Congo. Bye-bye.